I'm Carl Reuter, and welcome to the Stony Brook Sports Report. Now joined by the head football coach here at Stony Brook University, that's Chuck Priori. And Coach, when you look at it the first season in the Big South, the overall picture, how do you think the transition went for the club?
Carlo, it went well. I mean, I think I'm pleased as a football coach here. I mean, the competition has been awesome. We've had some great games. The facilities we visited and the hospitality that the other programs given us has been top-notch. And I think, everything else has fell in place pretty well. We have an opportunity to come in second place in the conference with a win this weekend.
Was the competition better than you thought?
I think some of the skill was. The skill was definitely, Coastal Carolina and Gardner-Webb had some phenomenal skill players on the offensive side of the ball, as well as Liberty. I think down in the pits physically, we held up very well. We've been able to physically handle a line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. So I think it's been a good home for us, and I'm excited about moving to the future.
All right, when you look at football seasons during the course of a year, injuries always take part. You lost Brandon Mason, but I think that really excelled the progress of your two running backs in Conte Catino and Eddie Gowans.
Yeah, football is going to be injuries. Unfortunately, we had our share early part of the year, which I think affected the team in different ways, and not necessarily on the field, but some of our practice development and ability to game plan correctly. But, we've been able to move forward through that and figure out a way to get it done. And then, you have Conte, who obviously is probably going to break the school record in rushing this weekend. And you get Eddie Gowans, who's a freshman who comes in, and over the course of each week, he's gotten better and better and better.
Has Gowans given you more than you ever anticipated? Is he a better football player, better person than you recruited to bring in here to Stony Brook?
Well, I think at this stage of his career, he's accomplished a lot for a freshman, and I think you never can expect a freshman to do that. That being said, I knew he was pretty talented. We went after him for a couple of years. He was one of the first kids I recruited when I came to school here. He actually was the first kid I visited. He went to Bridgeton Academy. But right after the first practice we had, we walked back in and said it's not going to be very easy to keep him off the field. So he's lived up to his own goals.
Yeah, the accolades have really come forward for him. Big South Freshman of the Week 4 times. That's quite an achievement.
Yeah, and if you look at his yards per carry at 8.8, and you look at what he's got getting done at this point after 10 football games over 1,000 yards, that doesn't happen very much to a person in their 4 years or 5 years of competition that he's getting it done in his first year.
You mentioned the 8.8 yards per pop. Is a lot of that because of the offensive line in front of him and Gowans knows how to follow his blockers, or is a lot of that done on his own because of the tremendous talent that he shows?
Yeah, I think, it's a combination. I think, first of all, we've played really well in front of him during the last 4 or 5 games. We've got a veteran group there, and our coaches have done a good job with that. But, the one thing about Eddie that's different than the average back, what's going to make him potentially a great one, is he doesn't waste any time when he gets to the hole. He makes a decision and takes it north and south, and as a result, he's got a lot of big plays on his resume.
All right, let's talk about your freshman quarterback in the year you got out of Dane Hoffman.
Pleased with his progress. I think, when you really pare it down and you talk about when he took over, he had 44 potential snaps in his career. He's still got 35 left in his career. He's gotten better and better each week. He's created some big plays for us. There's a window of improvement that he's going to need to make to help us be more successful.
All right, on the flip side, defensively, you always hear the term, he's a real football player. I think Tyler Santucci, your junior linebacker, lives up to that name of a football player.
Yeah, he's not the tallest, he's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, but he understands the game. He prepares with intensity that, unlike most people do in practice. His practice reps is as fast as his game reps. He's been battling 4 or 5 different injuries. He's played the last 4 games with a broken bone in his foot. Practices very little, gets on the field on Saturday, and plays his position well. Excited that he's had a great year and excited about him being back next year.
Coach, what does a guy like Tyler Santucci mean to a football team? It doesn't matter that he plays offense or defense, but personally, what does it mean to have a guy like him as part of your core of 55 players or whatever it might be?
Yeah, he sets the example. I think you can really build upon a person like that that has that type of burning desire to succeed regardless of his talent level. And, he'll be one of those kids that you'll say he definitely overachieved when it came down.
Senior lineman James Harris, team high in sacks this year. Talk about what Mr. Harris did.
James just has developed and developed and developed over his course of time here, and you know, I really have seen the light bulb go on for him as a player. I mean, he's an intense kid, gets excited about playing the game, and he's had a very good year. You know, we haven't had the ball run against us very much, based on our strength and other teams' strength, but he's been able to do the job we need him to do.
Is he one of those guys, and you can even bring Tyler Santucci back into the mix when you talk about defense, when the other teams are game planning their offenses, do you see them that they try to game plan away from guys like Harris and Santucci?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think when you really look at the scope of what teams do, I think teams have not tried to run the ball against us because of those guys, so absolutely.
All right, well, you lose some major players on both sides of the football, so can you talk about the senior class that'll be coming in there for next year and try to carry the tradition of Stony Brook football forward?
Yeah, we graduate 21 kids, most of them on the defensive side of the ball. You know, that being said, we return a relatively veteran offensive group next year. 8 starters will be back. We lose a couple of key receivers and a couple of key offensive linemen, but, you know, we'll have the nucleus back on offense. We've got some kids in place defensively that are going to have to step up, but you know, primarily it's in the defensive line where we've got to, you know, we're going to have to go out and do some good recruiting and ask some younger kids to contribute to the program. But you know, the future of Stony Brook football, I think, is bright. You know, when you talk about, we're still not at the scholarship level. We've competed this year. We've beaten 2 more full scholarship programs that are established programs. Took Elon, who's in the top 15 in the country, down to the wire. You know, played Maine into the 4th quarter and had an opportunity to win that game. I think we've made the progress. It hasn't necessarily shown on the scoreboard each week, but you know, as a coach, you get pleased with progress, and we have to look at it from that perspective.
Coach, you've been a leader of a team, a head coach for a long time now. You know, finishing the 3rd year here at Stony Brook. What have you learned now as you approach and look towards your 4th year?
Yeah, I think you know, personally, how difficult 1AA scholarship football is. The lack of depth afforded to you because of the lack of scholarship numbers and the lack of ability to get the quality walk-on. So, you know, we've really got to refocus some of our recruiting efforts and our ability to, in that developmental thing. You know, you think about, you can bring in the kid that can start, but can you bring in the kid that can run down on kickoffs? Can you bring in the 3rd tailback? Can you bring in the 3rd quarterback that could be successful? We were fortunate we had enough depth this year to survive some of the injuries, but those are the things that we're revisiting and trying to figure out how to get better in the recruiting process. We'll have the full scholarships, but we've got to build the bottom up also.
So it's a continuous job as a head coach and your staff to always do your homework. You can't leave any page unturned, can you?
Yeah, I mean, and you have oversights at times like you do in any business. And, you know, I think, you know, you sit there. We went into preseason camp, you know, with 81 bodies, and, you know, we're practicing in the 2nd week of the year with 55 kids. And you learn how to practice, you learn how to do those things, but then you have to address those in the offseason of how to get more numbers in your program and better quality.
The head football coach at Stony Brook University, Chuck Ferrari, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
That's our show for today. We'll see you next time on the Stony Brook Sports Report.